start, you got a cigarette?
Yeah, I do.
Should be allowed to smoke.
Oh yeah, we can smoke. My friend here has joined me from the street to bring us a story straight from the street rather than my second-hand business. And I thought it was quite interesting what you started telling me about Sudbury yesterday, and why you came down here.
Yeah, Sudbury. I used to think that, so I'm originally from Brantford, Ontario.
Right.
My hometown, born and raised. However, I got in trouble with the law, went to prison for a bit, and I decided I wanted to relocate. So I decided to move to the greater Sudbury area because the only people I knew there were two cousins and an aunt that I had hardly spoken to in the last 10 years, and one friend from the online world that I'd never met.
So you thought you would keep you away from the street scene? Is that kind of where you're going with that?
I figured that relocating would give me an opportunity to establish roots in a new place and possibly start anew, fresh start.
Right. But you left?
No problems, whatnot.
Yeah, I get it. But now you left Sudbury because, and at this point I just want to say Sudbury is around 170,000 population, where we are is around 130,000. So yeah, it's reasonably comparable. But anyways, what you were telling me yesterday kind of left me wide-eyed.
Mine reminded me just a little bit.
Well, you're saying...
I have a vague idea. Did it have anything to do with the people I was working with?
No, it was the park downtown.
Right, yes. So, in Sudbury, there's a park downtown. I can't remember the name of it, but right across from the park, there is the cop shop. And also next to the park is the Russo Action Center. The Russo Action Center, what they do is they make drug kits. So they make, the kits for the users.
Right. Much like you just got from the van here or whatever?
Yeah. Similarly, over here, we have the van in Brantford. They hand out clean supplies. Now, the general populace would probably grimace at that because they think that it perpetuates the problem. And they're not entirely wrong. However, the whole point of those initiatives is to prevent the spread of disease. And in the amongst the homeless, especially in the world of addiction, disease is a real problem. Hepatitis, HIV, you name it.
Yeah, I know the van is out of Hamilton, and it's sponsored by an AIDS organization of some form. I know I've spoken to the girls there. But anyways, sorry to interject.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyways, what were you seeing in the park? That was what kind of left me wide-eyed yesterday. You said it was part of the reason you left. It was a little too crazy.
So, here in Brantford, we got a downtown, we got a Victoria Park. Now, in Victoria Park, on average, you'll see people using, but it's fairly maintained. It's not too bad. But in Sudbury, when I first got to Sudbury,
yeah,
I was on...
When you're tapping, it's probably going into the phone.
My bad. Sorry.
Tap the door. Anyways, we're both new at this.
Yeah.
Let's carry on.
When I first moved to Sudbury, I was on parole. And I'm going to talk about it, if that's okay.
You carry on, yeah.
Because it'll lead up to that. So, when I first got on parole, parole's really strict. You break any conditions, you go back to prison. Plain and simple. So, I did not want to go back to the penitentiary. While the penitentiary hardened me, it also terrified me because of the things I saw in there. But that's for a later day. So, for 8 months, I was clean. And then, as I approached my warrant expiry, I used again. But before that, while I was clean, I walked downtown through the park once, and there were anywhere at any time between 60 and 100 people using broad daylight in front of everyone.
And we're talking right across from the cop shop?
Right across from the cop shop.
Okay.
I should also mention there's a daycare right next door. So there's that.
Right.
It was a nice park, you know. They had a water fountain. They had equipment for children. You know, a nice place to take your family or whatnot. You know, a park. But this park was overrun with addiction. Now
you'd mentioned sales.
Yes, right. So I'm going to say this real quick. It's one thing for someone who's my age. I'm 30 years old and I've been using for 7 years. It's progressively gotten worse. It started very small and it's gotten worse over time. It's one thing for me to use and to sell to me. It's a completely different story to sell to a 14-year-old child.
Yes.
Which is something that I saw on a regular basis.
Which is sort of where our conversation started yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 questions I guess I have. This is right, it's blatant, open, and it's right across from the police station.
Yep.
There's, I guess, considerable traffic to youth.
Yep.
Now we have to be careful with our terms here. We can't list the actual products.
Yes.
But was there sales of both, well, I'll say safe supply and unsafe supply?
If
you know what I mean by safe supply.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, you're asking if stuff was laced or if it was...
Well, if it was the government supply stuff or the street supply.
Oh.
I mean, obviously the street supply.
Absolutely street supplies. Supplied by dealers, supplied by wherever they get it from, right?
Okay.
Now, I'm old enough, I've been using long enough to know the difference between things. But I don't think a youth would.
Right.
And
so they
frankly, kids shouldn't be using to begin with. Especially not funny stuff.
Yeah. Therein lies the problem. But what I'm seeing on mainstream media, some covers it to some degree, and mostly independent media, is the safe supply that's given to the people, the addicts, and they sell it to the youth to then buy the street supply drug. You following what I'm saying? I'm sorry we have to not really use the real words.
I do follow to a degree, not entirely. We'll go with it. I think I understand what you mean.
Okay. All right. So you left because the scene was just too sketchy? Is that...
I left because myself as an individual, I have a bleeding heart. And as somebody who has a bleeding heart, I want to save the world. And that's even more so when it comes to children.
Mm-hmm.
So I started becoming involved with these kids. I started talking to them.
Let's cut this video here because we're moving to a separate subject.
Okay.
And it's getting long. And